Picture this. It's one of those soft spring mornings when the soil in your backyard plot releases that deep, earthy perfume after overnight rain. The kind that makes you sink your fingers in and feel the living pulse of worms and microbes working their quiet magic. You're out there with your coffee steaming in the cool air, dreaming of a cottage garden bursting with color that draws in the bees and butterflies, while blending seamlessly into your homesteading corner, where every plant earns its keep. But then you spot it. A single, unexpected shoot pushing up through the grass 10 feet from where you tucked in that charming vine last year. Your heart does a little flip because deep down you know the story that's about to unfold. The one where beauty hides a tangle of trouble that eats up weekends, strains good fences with neighbors, and, in rare moments, even puts loved ones at risk. I've walked that path more times than I care to count over decades of tending my own small patch, learning that some plants arrive like welcome friends, but stay like unwelcome relatives who rearrange the furniture and never leave. They aren't ugly, not by a long shot. Each one carries genuine allure that stops you at the garden center every spring. Yet their hidden habits cost more than money. They steal time from family suppers on the porch, turn peaceful chats over the hedge into awkward apologies, and once nearly brought real harm too close for comfort. If you're eyeing any of these for your American backyard or European allotment this season, pause with me a spell right here in the dirt. The stories I'm sharing from the soil might just spare you years of backbreaking surprises you never saw coming, keeping your garden a place of organic abundance and small daily wins instead of endless battles. Let's start with those romantic climbers that promise to soften hard edges and bring wildlife magic to your fence lines. The trumpet vine stands out first in my memory, with its enormous orange-red blooms shaped like little trumpets that sway in the summer breeze and call hummingbirds from across the neighborhood like tiny, iridescent visitors to a feast. In the opening season, it behaves like a dream, climbing exactly where you train it along a trellis or arbor, producing those spectacular flowers that fill the air with a faint, sweet nectar scent on warm afternoons. The foliage stays lush and green, offering dappled shade that feels perfect for a cottage nook. But year 2 brings the first hints of its true nature. New shoots emerging several feet away, innocent enough at first and easy to snip. By year 3, though, it's a different tale entirely. Shoots push through driveway cracks, snake under the lawn 15 feet out, and slip beneath the fence into your neighbor's yard, where they start their own colony. The aerial roots latch onto house siding, gutters, and wood trim, yanking paint and causing repairs when you try to pull them free. In USDA zones 4 through 9, which blankets so much of the continental United States, this spread happens fast, especially in the warmer southern stretches of zones 7 through 9, where summer heat fuels it like wildfire. I've seen similar stories from friends gardening in European temperate zones, like the UK or parts of Germany, where milder winters let it overwinter and expand just as aggressively if the soil stays moist and rich. The root system dives deep and wide by then, turning a $12 plant into a removal job that might run hundreds or even thousands, depending on how far it has traveled. One neighbor of mine spent a full weekend on his knees with a sharp garden fork, moistening the soil first to loosen the grip without snapping roots, only to discover fragments left behind regenerated stronger the next spring because the established network redirected all its stored energy into new growth. The fix that brings peace instead is swapping for native coral honeysuckle, Lonicera sempervirens. It delivers those same tubular red flowers that hummingbirds adore, twining gracefully without the runaway roots or paint-damaging grip. Plant it in well-drained soil you've amended with your own compost, and a handful of bone meal for strong establishment, and it rewards you in zones 4 through 9 with reliable blooms from late spring into summer. Pair it with companions like native coneflowers or bee balm for a pollinator corridor that boosts biodiversity and keeps soil microbes happy. No more monoculture battles. In my own plot, I've trained it on a simple wooden arbor near the vegetable beds, and the way the vines wrap gently feels like a true partnership with the land. Come fall, the foliage turns a soft gold that adds seasonal warmth without the cleanup headache. If you're gardening in cooler European climates with shorter summers, it still performs beautifully with a bit of extra mulch for root protection through winter, supporting local wildlife in a way that feels right for sustainable homesteading. Next comes another group that lures us in for those tricky, moist spots around ponds or low-lying areas where drainage is poor and nothing else seems to thrive. Yellow flag iris tempts with its tall, elegant yellow blooms, rising above sword-like foliage that gives such clean architectural lines to a water garden edge. The first season, it's pure joy, thriving in the damp soil, and adding that classic European iris grace that makes your naturalistic pond feel like a painting. The flowers open in early summer, drawing pollinators with their bright color, and the leaves rustle softly in the breeze. But year 2 brings seed pods by the handful, and by year 3, seedlings pop up everywhere, not just in your pond, but in surrounding soil, drainage ditches, and any nearby water feature.
Those seeds float, you see, hitching rides on water currents downstream to natural waterways and wetlands far beyond your control.
In states like Oregon, Washington, Wisconsin, and Vermont, it's already listed as prohibited, yet it sits freely on shelves elsewhere. Removal means excavating the whole root mass, a job most of us underestimate until we're knee-deep in mud with a sturdy spade, bagging every bit to prevent regrowth. I've heard tales from gardeners in the Pacific Northwest where it crossed property lines and sparked tense talks over shared streams. The organic way to tackle an established clump starts in early spring when soil is moist. Loosen around the base with a garden fork, lift carefully to avoid breaking the rhizomes, and follow up with thick cardboard smothering, topped by wood chip mulch, for a full season to starve any leftovers. In European gardens with similar wet climates, like those in the Netherlands or Ireland, the same floating seed habit can spread into protected fens if not caught early. Turn instead to blue flag iris, Iris versicolor, the true native counterpart that offers identical elegant form, but in beautiful blue-violet shades. It supports pollinators through the bloom season without seeding chaos, performing reliably in zones 3 through 9. Set it in your pond edge with a mix of compost and leaf mold to build soil structure, and it companions wonderfully with rushes or native sedges for a balanced wetland border that holds moisture without erosion. The foliage stays tidy, and the way it integrates with your homesteading pond creates small wins like clearer water and more frog song on summer evenings. For European gardeners facing similar damp challenges, it adapts well and adds that cottage charm without the downstream regrets. Purple Loosestrife follows a similar siren song, tagged as a butterfly magnet with tall purple spikes that light up the garden in midsummer.
The first season it delivers exactly that color punch, low maintenance and stunning against green backdrops.
Year 2, it multiplies noticeably, but you tell yourself it's manageable. The truth hits in year 3. One mature plant can release up to 2.5 million seeds that ride wind, water, shoes, tools, and animal fur across distances. Those seeds colonize wetlands, displacing natives that entire ecosystems rely on, and it's documented wreaking havoc across northeastern, Midwestern, and Pacific Northwest acres. In your own beds, removal demands digging out the full root crown, bagging every scrap because fragments regenerate fast. Professionals in affected states know it as a persistent foe. I've watched a friend in Zone 5 battle it for 3 seasons, using repeated cutting back in spring, followed by solarization with clear plastic during the hottest weeks to cook the roots in place. The better path is native blazing star, often called Liatris spicata, with the same tall purple spikes that butterflies and bees flock to during critical migration times. Native across much of the eastern United States, it stays well-behaved and actively feeds monarchs when they need nectar most. Plant it in average soil with good drainage, mulch lightly with straw to retain moisture, and watch it partner with black-eyed Susans for a vibrant meadow bed that improves soil tilth over time. In European temperate zones, it brings similar pollinator support without the seed explosion, fitting right into sustainable borders. Ground covers that promise to solve shady or difficult spots can rewrite your landscape in ways you never planned. English ivy arrives inexpensive and timeless, covering slopes and banks where nothing else grows. First season, it spreads lush and classic, looking like the solution to every hardscaping headache. Yet it climbs tree bark, blocking sunlight and adding weight that makes mature trees vulnerable to wind and storms.
I've seen neighborhoods from Maryland to Oregon lose decades-old oaks to this quiet invader, while it slips under fences into natural areas, suppressing everything beneath. Listed invasive in 18 states, removal from slopes means excavating every root fragment, often impossible without equipment. My neighbor once inherited a patch and spent summers pulling with thick gloves and a mattock, moistening soil to make the work easier, only to find regrowth because tiny pieces remained. Opt for native Pachysandra or Virginia creeper instead. Pachysandra procumbens gives genuine shade coverage with attractive foliage and ecological value for wildlife, while Virginia creeper climbs beautifully without tree-killing weight. Both native to much of the East, they thrive in zones 4 through 8 when planted in enriched soil and paired with ferns for layered texture that keeps soil cool and moist. In European gardens with comparable shade, they offer the same reliable cover without the structural damage. Mint, planted straight in the ground, feels like the most innocent herb choice, fragrant and useful for teas and kitchen recipes. First season, it stays contained, the leaves releasing that cooling scent when brushed. Then, underground stolons race in every direction, ignoring bed edges and infiltrating neighboring roots. By year 3, it's under paths, through lawns, and into other beds, turning extraction into a marathon of removing and replanting everything it touched. Every broken stolen piece starts anew. The simple switch, growing every variety in containers on a hard surface with drainage holes, prevents escape entirely, while giving you the full fragrance and flavor. I keep mine in terracotta pots grouped near the kitchen door, mulching the top with cocoa shells for that homesteading touch, and the plants stay productive through summer without invading the soil food web. Any mint family member like lemon balm shares the tendency, so always check spreading habits before open bed planting. Non-native wisteria tempts with those cascading purple or white flower clusters that stop traffic in full bloom. The vines look romantic, draping pergolas, but the vigorous underground growth can crush structures and gutters over years of quiet establishment. In warmer zones, it spreads faster, requiring heavy pruning and root barriers that add ongoing work. American wisteria offers similar dramatic blooms without the destructive force, twining gently and supporting native bees. Plant it with sturdy supports and companion shrubs like serviceberry for layered interest that feeds birds in fall. Goutweed,
sold as bishop's weed or snow on the mountain, promises coverage for impossible dry shade under trees. First season, it fills the gap attractively. Year 2, it edges outward, and by year 3, it infiltrates lawns and beds. Rhizomes break during digging, each piece regenerating reliably. Removal can mean excavating the top foot of soil across the area, a costly process. Smother with cardboard and deep wood chips over 2 seasons for an organic win, repeating cuts to weaken it. Epimedium, or barrenwort, gives similar shade coverage, with delicate spring flowers and drought tolerance, taking time to establish but needing zero fight later. Zones 4 through 9 suit it perfectly, and it pairs with hostas for a low-maintenance understory that enriches leaf litter into healthy humus. Creeping bellflower charms with nodding purple bells in cottage style, often shared as divisions from friends. First seasons, it blooms generously. Then, fleshy white roots extend far, breaking and regenerating, while seeds scatter into lawns and cracks. By year 5, a colony spreads 20 feet. Manual removal demands patience in moist soil, with a narrow trowel to trace every root.
Harebells, Campanula rotundifolia, deliver the same delicate flowers with well-behaved habits and pollinator value, available through native societies for northern and western regions. Finally, the one that still gives me pause, giant hogweed, with its enormous white flower clusters on stems reaching 6 to 15 feet, looking architectural and dramatic. Sap contains compounds that cause severe phototoxic burns on skin exposed to sun, leading to blisters, scarring, or worse. Documented across northeastern states and the Pacific Northwest, it demands full protective gear and often professional removal. Never touch without certainty. Contact local agriculture departments. Native Angelica provides the same bold scale with safe white clusters, supporting pollinators in eastern zones without risk. From the soil, I've learned 3 questions that guard every purchase. Does it spread by underground runners? Is it invasive in my state or region? What does year 3 really look like? Check free resources like native plant databases organized by zip code, and choose plants that evolved with your local ecosystem, the true sustainability. Early action saves labor. Year 1 is an afternoon. Year 5, a major project. If something has crossed lines, talk openly with neighbors and offer to coordinate natural remediation. In the end, every one of these plants was set with good intentions, dreaming of beauty and life. The soil teaches us gently that complete information at planting time turns those dreams into lasting harmony. Swap one this season, enrich your beds with compost, and watch the small wins multiply. More birds, healthier soil, quieter evenings. Your garden deserves that peace, and the earth will thank you with abundance year after year. Try it in your own patch and feel the difference the right choices bring.